Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. One of my subscribers asked me if I could talk a little bit about the Romford Bull, Johnny Fisher, young heavyweight from guess where? Romford, yeah, Essex, England. At the weekend on the undercard of the AJ Helenius fight, he scored a good 7th round win over a guy named Harry Armstrong, another big fella. Big strong lad, 6'6" Armstrong. Looked a little bit overweight, but had some skills, which we'll go into in a moment. Fisher, younger man, a little bit shorter, 6'4" he's listed as on BoxRec, and 24 years old. Now, very, very young for a heavyweight. Now, in the past, I've got to be honest, Fisher hasn't really shown me much that gets me sort of hot under the collar thinking, well, actually, this guy's got some real potential. But, as we know, there's a lot to be said for dedication, hard work, and living the life, maximising your talent. Because when you turn pro, you can never be certain how far you're going to go, how much talent you got, how much of it's psychological, how much of it's physical. Are you going to pick up injuries? Are you going to not live the life? Johnny Fisher seems to be doing all the right things. He's got a huge he's a huge ticket seller. He's got a huge fan base, but he's beginning to show little shoots where even though the jury's still out, I can see improvements. Because against Harry Armstrong, who is a 30-year-old heavyweight, like I say, 6'6", big lad, looks like he could lose a bit of weight, but Fisher showed something about himself. And I think psychologically, as well as in terms of technique and patience and all the things that you need, all those different components that go to make up, a decent prospect. Now, I still don't get the impression that Fisher's going to, rip up any trees at world level, don't get me wrong. But against Armstrong, first of all, in the first round, he had Armstrong on the floor within about 10-15 seconds because he immediately stepped out, very purposeful, landed a ramrod jab which took Armstrong by surprise. Armstrong sort of fell back into the ropes and then Fisher unloaded and put him over. And Armstrong got up, but you thought, is this going to be another early night for Johnny Fisher? And Armstrong sort of weathered the storm, and Fisher was unloading heavy volleys of punches. He was trying to knock the guy out early, put it that way. And in the second round, you might have thought, well, he's blown himself out. I didn't feel he had gassed, and I know it was only the second round, but in the first round, he let it all hang out. And then in the second round, with the minute's rest, it looked like he actually chose, okay, I'm going back to my boxing, rather than, Christ, I'm knackered, I better take the round off. It wasn't a case of that. Now, having said that, Armstrong, to his credit, having been sort of ambushed and blitzkrieged in the first round, he then started to show some decent, domestic level skill, some good basics. He was feinting very well. He doesn't hit hard at all. He's got 5 wins on his record. Now he's got 2 defeats. This first one was by stoppage to Fisher. He's got a draw. None of his wins are by stoppage, but he was showing good feints and a very good jab, and also a lot of mental strength, because you might have thought, a lesser person would have thought, oh my God, I'm going out for the second round. Am I going to get more of the same? No. He stayed nice and calm. He recovered well. And Armstrong showed a very good mentality. He was jabbing well. There was some body work in the second round from both men, both of these big fellas, landing to the body. You could see that Armstrong, despite that hellish first round, was thinking, and he was thinking, I'm going to edge my way back into this fight. This, by the way, was for the Southern Area belt. So it was a 10-rounder. The area belts are over 10 rounds. And I actually thought Armstrong probably won the second round. It was close-ish, but it was also noticeable that from Fisher's point of view, the fact that Armstrong was having a pretty good second round, he didn't panic, held his shape nice, took the few punches that landed, especially to the body. I think Armstrong landed the first sort of 1-2 to the body, left, right to the body, and then later on in the round, Fisher came back with his own body work. Fisher himself was thinking, and he was staying nice and patient, and okay, he was being out-feinted. He wasn't he didn't have a big banger in front of him, so he didn't have to worry about being hit cleanly, although you obviously don't want to get hit at all, really. And then in the third round, I thought Fisher was being perhaps a little bit too conservative, not enough output. But it's a 10-rounder, and I think this was his first 10-rounder, or he's certainly never been 10 rounds before. Neither had Armstrong. He'd been the 8 in his previous fight, which was a loss over 8 rounds. He lost I think it was a unanimous decision. I didn't see it, but I read about it. So by the third round, you're thinking, well, this is a fight. This is a pretty even fight now. Never mind that first round. The second and third round, they show that this is a pretty good contest, developing here. And then I think it was the fourth round. I want to say it was the fourth round where Fisher tagged Armstrong again. He got him onto the ropes, and the ropes kind of propped up Armstrong. And I thought for a moment the referee was going to call it another knockdown, but he actually did shake Armstrong. But again, Armstrong came back well. Kept recomposed himself. More feints, more jabs. I did feel that Armstrong was having good success, maybe in the second and third round with the jab, and then he kind of forgot about it a little bit. And I think there was a reason for that. I think Fisher was trying to make him come forward. Maybe that's why Fisher's own output wasn't too good, because he wanted to sort of lure Armstrong forward. And fifth round, I'm trying to remember the rounds individually. Kind of more of the same. I think Fisher won that round. Fisher was landing the heavier punches by far. He was faster. He wasn't necessarily as cute as Armstrong, who again was looking to counter. When Armstrong came forward, it kind of suited. When Fisher came forward, it suited Armstrong, and when Armstrong came forward, it's kind of suited Fisher more, which was an interesting little equation there. Well, anyway, rounds 5 and 6, I thought Fisher was pretty much on top. I think I gave Armstrong 2 rounds in the whole fight, the first 6 rounds that is, and then in the 7th round, Fisher really got his skates on, and he suddenly sort of came to life. He'd sort of half fallen asleep, but he came to life, managed to get land some good right hands on Armstrong, who took the first 3 or 4 well, but got pushed to the ropes. A little bit reminiscent of the knockdown in the first round, and then they were exchanging, and Fisher landed an almighty right hand, which kind of unhinged Armstrong, who went down. Armstrong got up, but noticeably his legs were very shaky. This was the first time he'd been properly hurt, and he looked a bit sort of zapped out of it. He also had a cut over his left eye. The referee gave him the standing 8. He didn't look like he really knew where he was, Armstrong. I think he was sort of half concussed. And then Fisher went in for the kill. Punches in bunches again, very, very hard punches, mostly to the head. I think they were probably all to the head. And then the towel came in just as the referee was stopping the fight. And the new Southern Area heavyweight champion is Johnny Fisher. But this was a pretty good, I think it's his best performance, Fisher. He did show a lot of flaws. There's still a lot of cracks in his game, as you would expect a novice 24-year-old to have. But he's going in the right direction. And on the evidence of what I've seen, I would say he could probably get to British level, which is nothing wrong with that. Commonwealth level. European, jury's still out. World level, I remain to be convinced. But he's going in the right direction. He is maximising his talent. And also, if Harry Armstrong lost a bit of weight, because he was a bit pudgy, maybe he's just naturally a big lad, like an Andy Ruiz type, but he's got some skills too. He could pick up an area belt, maybe an English title along the way. But it was a curious, I wouldn't say it was an exciting fight, but it was a curious sort of observation for a young heavyweight, only 24 years old, in Johnny Fisher, and where he's going, where he could be going. And yeah, just a few thoughts on Johnny Fisher. What do you think of Fisher? I mean, this was the first time where I saw what I would call some real signs of progress. Nothing major, but nice little incremental steps. Let me know your opinion of Johnny Fisher. Do you like watching him? How far do you think he can go? Who do you think he should fight next? I wouldn't put him on a level with, Fabio Wardley, Fraser Clark, none of those yet. Nowhere near it. The area level belt is a good belt to have. It's a nice first step for him. But let me know your opinions. Leave your comments below. I'll answer them. Thanks as always for your time. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the like button as well. We always say that. And spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Looking forward to reading your comments. Bye for now.